The smell of stale exhaust and damp concrete hung heavy in the air of the courthouse parking garage. I gripped the handle of my purse, my knuckles white. At 65, I thought I was done with this kind of bone-deep anxiety. But family drama always found a new way to pull you back in. Today was the day. The final hearing. The day my son, Dominic, would finally be free from Marissa. I couldn't say I was sad about it. I'd tried to like her, I truly had. But for 3 years, I'd watched her chip away at Dominic, isolating him with a sweet smile and eyes as cold as a banker's heart. She was a smiling cobra, and I just wanted her fangs out of my son's life. My sensible shoes echoed in the near-empty garage. Level 4, Section C. I spotted my 10-year-old sedan, a reliable, unassuming car my late husband Frederick had always meticulously maintained. I fumbled in my purse for the keys, my hand shaking just slightly. "Ma'am, stop, don't!" The voice was small, terrified. It bounced off the concrete walls, sharp and sudden. I spun around. A little girl, maybe 8 or 9, darted out from behind a massive concrete pillar. Her hair was a tangled mess, her clothes were rumpled, and she was clutching a worn, one-eyed teddy bear. She ran right at me, her sneakers squeaking on the pavement. "Ma'am, please, don't start the engine." She banged a small fist on my driver's side window, just as I was about to put the key in the lock. I froze, my heart leaping into my throat. "Sweetheart, what is it? What's wrong?" "Your daughter-in-law," she panted, her eyes wide with a terror that was far too old for her face. "She paid someone to hurt your car. She told them to mess with it." The garage seemed to drop a dozen degrees. The blood drained from my face. What did you say?" "She came to my dad's shop. She offered him money." The girl rushed on, the words tumbling out. "She wanted him to make it crash. But my dad said no. He said he doesn't do that." "But she was so mad. Please, she's bad. Don't start the car." My mind was reeling, trying to process the words. Marissa? Sabotage my car? It was insane. It was something from a bad television movie. "Who is your dad?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "What's your name?" "I can't," she whimpered. Just then, the distant rumble of the elevator door opening echoed from the far end of the garage. The girl flinched like a startled deer. "I have to go. He'll be mad I left. Just please, believe me." She turned and fled, her small form disappearing into the dark opening of the stairwell. The heavy fire door slammed shut behind her, the sound booming in the sudden silence. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. I stood there for a full minute, my keys clutched in my hand, my heart hammering against my ribs. I looked at the stairwell door, then back at my car. She paid someone to hurt your car. It couldn't be true. Marissa was manipulative. She was greedy and cold. But this was attempted murder. It was a line so dark I couldn't imagine anyone crossing it. But the girl's terror, that had been real. A shadow fell over me. "Everything all right here, ma'am?" I yelped, spinning around. A garage attendant in a blue uniform was standing there, a clipboard in his hand. He looked bored. I stammered, feeling foolish. "A little girl. Did you see a little girl? She just ran into that stairwell, brown hair, holding a teddy bear." He raised an eyebrow, scanning the empty garage. "What little girl? I just came up from the booth. Haven't seen anyone, especially not a kid. They're not really allowed to be running around in here alone." But she was just here. She warned me about my car. The attendant's expression shifted from boredom to vague pity. He probably thought I was a senile old woman, stressed out by a court case. "Right. Well, you have a nice day, ma'am." He tipped his hat and continued on his patrol, his keys jangling at his belt. I was alone again. Had I imagined it? Was the stress of the divorce finally making me hallucinate? I looked at my car. It looked perfectly normal, innocent, just a car. But I couldn't shake the girl's face, the raw panic in her eyes. I stared at the ignition. My hand holding the key was trembling so hard I couldn't have put it in if I'd tried. Slowly, deliberately, I put the key back in my purse. I zipped it shut. I turned and walked toward the elevator. I would take a cab home, and then I was going to call Marty. If I was wrong, I'd feel foolish. But if that little girl was right, I'd just dodged a bullet, or more accurately, a high-speed collision. The courthouse lobby was a chaotic mix of hushed whispers, clacking heels, and nervous energy. I scanned the crowd, my nerves still raw from the garage. I spotted Dominic near the information desk, talking to his lawyer, Penelope Croft. He looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes, his shoulders slumped in his expensive suit. This whole thing was killing him, and Marissa knew it. My eyes kept scanning. And then I saw her. Marissa was standing near the elevators, perfectly composed as always. She was in a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment, her blonde hair pulled back in a sleek, severe bun. She was scrolling through her phone, the picture of bored indifference. Then she looked up. Her eyes met mine across the crowded atrium. The transformation was instantaneous and terrifying. All the color drained from her face. Her perfectly painted red lips parted in a small O of disbelief. It wasn't just surprise, it was shock. The kind of shock you see on someone who has just watched a ghost walk through a solid wall. For a fraction of a second, her mask of perfection didn't just slip, it shattered. I saw what was underneath. It wasn't sadness or regret. It was pure, unadulterated fury. She recovered in an instant. The mask was back. She gave me a tight, brittle smile that didn't come close to her eyes, but I had seen it, and it confirmed everything. She hadn't just hoped I'd have car trouble. She had expected me to be absent, maybe in a hospital, maybe worse. Marissa quickly turned her back to me, but not before I saw her thumbs begin to fly across her phone screen, typing with a frantic, angry energy. I took a deep breath, my blood running cold. The little girl had saved my life. I walked toward my son, forcing a calm I didn't feel. "Dominic, honey." He turned, his face brightening slightly. "Mom, you made it. I was starting to get worried." "Traffic was just terrible," I lied, patting his arm. "I'm fine. Don't you worry about me." Over his shoulder, I watched Marissa jab the elevator button, never once looking back. She knew I was there, and she was furious. The game had just changed, and she was the only one who knew the rules. Now, so was I. We took our seats in the sterile, wood-paneled courtroom. Dominic sat beside me, his lawyer Penelope Croft on his other side, shuffling through a mountain of documents. Penelope was a shark, and I was grateful for her, but I knew today was going to be a bloodbath. Across the aisle, Marissa sat with her own lawyer, Raymond Shaw. Shaw was all expensive tailoring and crocodile shoes, a man who smiled while he gutted you. "All rise," the bailiff called. We stood as Judge Monroe entered, a stern woman with a reputation for suffering no fools. The proceedings began, a drone of legal jargon and financial disclosures. Penelope was sharp, methodical, dismantling Marissa's claims one by one. "Your Honor, my client is requesting 50% of assets that Mr. Callahan owned prior to their 3-year marriage," Penelope stated, her voice crisp. "She is also demanding alimony payments that are frankly punitive and based on an income my client does not have." Raymond Shaw leaned into his microphone. "Your Honor, Mrs. Callahan gave up her own career aspirations to support her husband's. This dissolution is not of her choosing, and she deserves to maintain the lifestyle to which she has become accustomed. A lifestyle of shopping, spa days, and charity luncheons where she did no charity." I bit my tongue, hard. But as the lawyers argued, I wasn't watching them. I was watching Marissa. She was a tightly coiled spring. Her leg bounced under the table, a rapid, nervous rhythm that was completely at odds with her placid expression. And her phone. It was in her lap, hidden by her designer purse. She was texting, nonstop. Her head was bowed slightly, her thumbs a blur. Every few seconds she would risk a glance at me, her eyes narrow and assessing, before looking at the courtroom door, then back at her phone. She wasn't listening to her lawyer. She wasn't paying attention to the judge. She was waiting for something. A text message, a person. It was the energy of someone whose carefully laid plan had just gone disastrously wrong and who was now scrambling to improvise. Judge Monroe looked up sharply. "Mrs. Callahan, is there something on your phone more pressing than this hearing?" Marissa jumped, startled. "No, Your Honor, I apologize." She put the phone away, but her hands were trembling. She folded them on the table, her knuckles white. She had expected me to be gone. My presence here had thrown a wrench into her entire strategy. But what was the strategy? Was my accident meant to derail the hearing, to make Dominic so distraught he would just give in to her demands? It seemed so theatrical and so incredibly high risk. A cold thought snaked into my mind. Or was it not about the hearing at all? Judge Monroe called a 15-minute recess. Dominic and Penelope huddled together, speaking in low, urgent tones. "I'm just going to use the restroom, honey," I whispered to Dominic. He nodded, his focus entirely on Penelope. I walked out into the corridor and down the hall to the ladies' room. The cool, quiet, tiled space was a relief after the tension of the courtroom. It was empty. I ran cold water over my wrists at the sink, trying to calm the adrenaline buzzing under my skin. The door creaked open behind me. I looked up at the mirror. Marissa. She walked in as if she owned the place, her heels clicking on the tile. She didn't look at me, heading straight for the mirror 2 sinks down. She pulled a lipstick from her purse and began to reapply it with a steady hand. The silence was heavy, broken only by the hum of the ventilation. "You're looking a little pale, Letitia," she said, her voice smooth as silk, her eyes meeting mine in the reflection. "Are you feeling all right?" "I'm fine, Marissa." She snapped the lipstick shut. "I'm surprised you made it. I heard the traffic was just dreadful this morning. A real nightmare." I managed. She turned, leaning a hip against the counter, the picture of casual confidence, but her eyes were like chips of ice. "It's funny, isn't it? How your whole day, your whole future can change in an instant." My heart rate kicked up. I suppose it can. 1 minute you're driving along thinking about your day. The next, she made a small explosive gesture with her hand. Pfft, everything changes. It's so easy for accidents to happen, especially with older cars. Brakes fail, tires blow. You just never know. It wasn't a question. It wasn't a warning. It was a threat. She was telling me what she had done. She was gloating. "My car is very well maintained," I said, my voice low and shaking, not with fear, but with a sudden boiling rage. "Frederick taught me how to take care of it." "Frederick's gone," she said, her smile widening. "And he can't protect you or Dominic anymore. You should remember that." She pushed off the counter and walked to the door. She paused with her hand on the handle. "You should have just stayed home, Letitia. It would have been so much simpler for everyone." She walked out, leaving me staring at my own reflection, my face as white as a sheet. She wasn't just a cobra, she was a monster, and she had just confirmed, without a shadow of a doubt, that she had tried to kill me. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely dial. I stood in the courthouse stairwell, the heavy door muffling the sounds of the lobby. "Marty's auto," a gruff voice answered. "Marty, it's Letitia. Letitia Callahan, Frederick's wife." "Letitia, how are you, doll? Haven't seen you in ages. How's that sedan running?" That's why I'm calling, Marty," I said, my voice trembling. "I'm at the courthouse. I think someone tampered with my car." "With the brakes?" There was a dead silence on the line. Marty was old school. He didn't panic and he didn't dismiss. "Don't you dare touch it. Don't even get in it. Where is it?" Level 4, Section C of the courthouse garage. I'm sending a flatbed right now. You take a cab to my shop. I'll have my guy meet the tow truck and get it here. You wait for me in the office. And Letitia, don't talk to anyone else." The line clicked dead. I slipped out of the courthouse, telling Dominic I had a blinding headache and was going home to lie down. He was so wrapped up in his own misery he barely registered it. I waved down a taxi, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I sat in the grimy office at Marty's Auto Works, surrounded by the smell of motor oil, old coffee, and rubber. It was a smell I associated with Frederick, with safety. Right now, I felt anything but safe. An hour later, Marty walked in, wiping his greasy hands on a red rag. He didn't say hello. He just looked at me, his face grim, his eyes full of a cold anger I'd never seen in him. "You were right," he said, his voice flat. I felt the air leave my lungs. He found something? Oh, he found something. Whoever it was, they were a pro. They didn't cut the lines. A rookie cuts the lines. You see the puddle. You know something's wrong. He sat down heavily in the squeaky chair opposite me. No, this was meticulous. They loosened the fittings on the master cylinder, just enough. You wouldn't have noticed it pulling out of the garage. The pedal would have felt a little soft, maybe. He met my eyes. But after 10-15 minutes of stop-and-go driving, hitting the brakes at lights, the fluid would leak, the pressure would drop. You'd go to stop at a major intersection, Letitia, and that pedal would have gone straight to the floor. No brakes, nothing. I felt sick. So I would have... At 40-50 miles an hour, you'd have gone straight into traffic. Or a pole. They weren't trying to scare you, Letitia. They were trying to kill you. And they wanted it to look like a tragic, unavoidable accident, mechanical failure in an older car. The words from the restroom echoed in my head, especially with older cars. "My God," I whispered, pressing a hand to my mouth. "Who wants you dead, Letitia?" Marty asked, his voice low. "My son's wife, Marissa." Marty nodded slowly, as if that made a sick kind of sense. "It's fixed. My guy tightened everything up, bled the lines, topped off the fluid. It's safe to drive now, safer than it's ever been." He leaned forward. "But this ain't over. This wasn't some punk kid. This was a professional hit, and it was personal." I was still reeling from Marty's confirmation, my mind struggling to catch up. Marty, the little girl who warned me. She said Marissa came to her dad's shop first, that he said no. Marty's eyes sharpened. He leaned back in his chair, folding his thick arms. "Now that you mention it, yeah, 3, maybe 4 days ago, a woman came in here. Didn't look like our usual clientele." "What did she look like?" "Blonde," he said immediately. "Dressed to the nines, looked like she'd never seen a grease stain in her life. Sharp-tongued, all business. Used a fake name, Mary, or something simple. I knew it was phony." My blood ran colder. That was Marissa. "She showed me pictures," Marty continued, his brow furrowed, "of you and of your sedan. Asked me if I did special jobs. Off the books. Said she needed an inspection done on your car, but she didn't want the owner to know." "What did you do?" "I told her I'm a mechanic, not a criminal. I told her to get the hell out of my shop." He paused, thinking. "She got nasty, real nasty. Offered me $2,000, cash, just to loosen a few things. I told her I was calling the cops if she didn't leave." "Did she?" "Oh yeah, she left." "But she was furious, stormed out of here. I heard her on her phone in the parking lot yelling at someone." He snapped his fingers. "That's right. She said, your guy was a bust. I'm going to have to use that chop shop loser after all. Tell Travis Bishop I'm on my way, and he'd better not waste my time." "Travis Bishop?" My heart stopped. "Travis Bishop? Do you know him?" Marty's face darkened. "I know of him. Runs a chop shop on the east side. Real shady character. Word is he deals in stolen parts, VIN switching." Nothing good, but I've also heard he's got a kid, a little girl. His wife died a few years back and he's all she's got. Eliza, the little girl with the teddy bear. Her name is Eliza, I whispered. The pieces slammed into place with horrifying clarity. Marissa had been Mary. She'd tried to hire a legitimate, skilled mechanic like Marty to do her dirty work. When he refused, she'd gone to her backup, a desperate man with a criminal record. Travis Bishop. But Travis, despite his shady dealings, had drawn the line. He wouldn't do it. And his daughter, Eliza, his brave, terrified daughter, had overheard the entire thing and taken an incredible risk to save a stranger's life. Marty, I said, my voice shaking but firm, I need an address for Travis Bishop. That evening, I sat in my quiet living room, the house feeling too big, too empty. Dominic had called, confused and worried when I didn't return to the courthouse. I'd waved it off as a migraine, promising I'd be there for the rescheduled hearing tomorrow. The lie tasted like ash. How could I tell my son that his wife, the woman he had once loved, had tried to have me murdered that very morning? He was already broken by this divorce. This would destroy him. I had to protect him, which meant I had to handle this myself. My hands trembled as I picked up the phone and dialed. Miles, it's Aunt Letitia. Aunt Tish, how are you? I haven't heard from you in... His cheerful voice faltered. You sound awful. Is everything okay? Is it Dominic? Miles was my sister's son, a good kid, sharp as a tack, who had rebelled against his family of doctors and lawyers to become a private investigator. He was the only person I could trust. Miles, I said, and the dam broke. The words came pouring out. The little girl in the garage, Marissa's face in the lobby, the threat in the restroom, Marty's confirmation, the loosened brake lines, Travis Bishop, Eliza. I told him everything, my voice cracking. There was a long, stunned silence on the other end of the line. When he finally spoke, his voice was not the cheerful nephew I knew. It was cold, hard, and professional. Jesus, Aunt Tish, you're lucky to be alive. I know, I whispered. This is way past a messy divorce. This is conspiracy to commit murder. You have to go to the police. Now. With what? I cried, the frustration and fear boiling over. With what, Miles? The word of a little girl I can't find? A conversation with a mechanic that Marissa will deny ever happened? There's no proof. It's my word against hers. I'm just the bitter mother-in-law. She'll walk away clean and I'll look like a crazy old woman. He was quiet for a moment. He knew I was right. Okay, he said, his voice firm. Okay, you're right. We don't go to the cops, not yet. We get the proof. We get something ironclad. What do we do? You stay put. Lock your doors. Don't answer them for anyone but me. I'm coming over. In the meantime, I'm running a deep dive on Marissa, and I'm going to find out everything there is to know about Mr. Travis Bishop. He paused. Aunt Tish? You're not crazy. I believe you. And we're going to nail this monster to the wall. When he hung up, I let out a breath I felt like I'd been holding all day. I wasn't alone in this anymore. Miles arrived 20 minutes later, his usual casual outfit replaced by a grim determination. He swept my house, checking locks on windows and doors, his eyes scanning the dark yard. You're safe here for now, he said, sitting at my kitchen table and opening his laptop. She thinks she failed. She doesn't know why. She'll be scrambling, not attacking. He typed for an hour, his face illuminated by the screen's glow. The only sounds were the clicking of keys and the hum of the refrigerator. Okay, he said finally, rubbing his eyes. Marissa is interesting. She has no family to speak of. Parents died young. She's got a trust fund, but it's not huge. She's been living well above her means. Her credit card debt is astronomical. So she needs Dominic's money, I said. She doesn't just need it, Aunt Tish. She's desperate for it. If this divorce goes through and she gets what the judge is likely to offer, she'll be broke in 6 months. She's been liquidating assets, funneling money into offshore accounts. She's not just planning for a divorce. She's planning to disappear. A chill went down my spine. With Dominic's money. Exactly. But here's where it gets really dark. I pulled financials on Travis Bishop. He turned the laptop toward me. It was a bank statement. Bishop is small time. A few $100 here and there from his chop shop work, barely scraping by. He pointed to a line item. 2 days ago, cash deposit $5,000. My breath hitched. That's not all, Miles said, scrolling down. Look at this. Yesterday morning, the same day she saw you in court, the same day she knew the car bomb had failed. He pointed again. Another deposit, $15,000. I stared at the number. $20,000. That's not Sabotoji the car money, Aunt Tish, Miles said, his voice grim. Marty said she offered him $2,000 for that. Bishop must have refused, just like Marty, so she upped the ante. She blackmailed him, or she offered him an insane amount of money for something else. Something worse, I whispered. She paid him $5,000 before the car job failed. Then she paid him another $15,000 after it failed. This isn't plan A, Aunt Tish. This $20,000, this is plan B, and it's already in motion. What? What could be worse than killing me? Miles closed the laptop. We have to find Eliza. She's the only one who knows. I've got an address for Bishop. We go tomorrow. After school, before he gets home from work. The next afternoon, I was a bundle of nerves. Miles drove his unremarkable sedan, parking in the grimy lot of a 24-hour convenience store. Across the 4-lane road was Travis Bishop's apartment building, a squat 3-story block of faded brick and rusting balconies. Eliza's school bus drops her at that corner at 3:15, Miles said, pointing. Bishop's work van usually pulls in around 5:30. We have a 2-hour window. What if she won't talk to us? What if she's too scared? She saved your life once, Aunt Tish. She's brave. She just needs to know she can trust us. At 3:17, a yellow school bus wheezed to a stop at the corner. A small stream of kids got off, among them a small figure with a familiar, tangled mess of brown hair, her backpack almost as big as she was. Eliza. Okay, Miles said. Let's go. We crossed the street, my heart pounding. Eliza, I called out, my voice gentle. She was halfway to the apartment building's entrance. She froze, her shoulders tensing. She turned slowly. When she saw me, her eyes went wide, first with recognition, then with pure, stark terror. She looked wildly around the empty courtyard as if expecting Marissa to jump out from the bushes. It's okay, sweetheart, I said, stopping a few feet away, holding my hands up slowly. It's okay. I'm Letitia. You warned me, remember? In the garage. She nodded, clutching the strap of her backpack. I didn't start the car, I said softly. You saved my life, Eliza. I'm here to say thank you. She relaxed, just a fraction. This is my nephew, Miles, I said, gesturing to him. We're here to help. We're not with her. You're okay? She whispered. I am. Thanks to you. I knelt, wincing as my old knees protested, so I was at her eye level. But Eliza, I'm very worried. I think that bad lady, I think she's still trying to hurt my family. I think she paid your daddy a lot of money to do something else. Tears immediately welled in her eyes. He didn't want to. I heard him. He told her no. He said he wouldn't hurt anyone. I know, I said soothingly. I know he's a good man. But she's a very bad woman. And she's scared him, hasn't she? Eliza's face crumpled. She came back, she sobbed, the words muffled by her hands. She came back after she saw you. She was so mad. She said if my dad didn't do the new job, she would call the police and tell them he steals cars. She said they'd take me away. My heart broke for this child, trapped in an impossible situation. Eliza, I said, my voice firm. What was the new job? What did she pay him $20,000 to do? Eliza was trembling, tears streaming down her small, pale face. She looked at Miles, then at me, her lower lip quivering. "He's not a bad man," she whispered, defending her father. We need money. For food. The rent." "I know, honey. We are not here to get your daddy in trouble," I said, my voice as gentle as I could make it. "We are here to stop her. But we need to know what she's planning." Eliza wiped her nose on the sleeve of her thin jacket. She was yelling at him. She said the car plan was a bust. She said the old woman was still walking around. "That's me," I said grimly. She said now they had to do it the hard way. She said... Eliza's voice dropped to a terrified whisper. She said she wanted him to take your son. The world tilted. "Take Dominic? My son?" "She has a picture of him, too." Eliza nodded. "She said he goes to a card game every Thursday night at a club. Dominic's poker game, his one weekly escape. He'd been going for 10 years, a creature of habit. Marissa knew his schedule inside and out." What was he supposed to do to Dominic?" I asked, though I was terrified to hear the answer. Eliza's eyes were huge. "She wants Daddy to make it look like a robbery, outside the club. She said, 'Don't kill him, I need him alive.' But she said he had to hurt him. Real bad." She was struggling with the words, her small face contorted in confusion and fear. She said, "I need you to hit him in the head, hard enough that he can't think good anymore." She said she would take care of him after, that she would have to make all his decisions. I felt the blood drain from my face. Miles let out a low, sharp curse. It wasn't murder. It was something so much more twisted. She was planning to have Dominic assaulted, beaten, and left with a severe, debilitating head injury, brain damage. With me dead and Dominic legally incompetent, she would be granted full conservatorship. She would have everything: his business, his accounts, his houses, his entire life. "When?" I choked out. "When is this supposed to happen?" "Tonight," Eliza whispered, a fresh wave of tears starting. "Tonight is Thursday. Daddy left with his van. He took a baseball bat. He was crying, Mrs. Letitia. He didn't want to go. Tonight." It was already happening. "Miles," I said, my voice shaking with a new icy fury. "We have to stop him." "We're not stopping him. We're using him," Miles said, his voice hard. He looked at Eliza. "Honey, does your dad have a cell phone? Do you know the number?" She nodded, rattling off the 10 digits from memory. Miles dialed. "We have to get to him before he gets to the club," I urged, my mind racing. Miles held up a hand. "Mr. Bishop, my name is Miles. I'm a private investigator and I'm standing with your daughter. No, she's fine. She's right here. But you and I need to talk, right now, about Marissa and about what she paid you $20,000 to do to Dominic Callahan tonight." There was a pause. Miles listened, his expression grim. "Yeah, I thought so. Look, you're in a bad spot, Travis. But you're about to walk into a much worse one. You do this, you're looking at attempted murder, kidnapping, aggravated assault. You'll go to prison for 20 years. And Eliza? She'll be in the system. Is that what you want?" Another pause. "Good. Pull over. Now, I'm sending you a pin for a diner 5 minutes from you. You be there in 10. And Travis? Don't even think about running. We're your only way out of this." He hung up and looked at me. "He's scared. That's good. We can use scared." We left Eliza with a kind-looking woman at the convenience store counter, promising to be right back. The diner was a greasy spoon off the highway. Travis Bishop was already there, slumped in a booth, his head in his hands. He looked up as we approached. He was nothing like I'd pictured. He wasn't a monster. He was just a defeated man. His eyes were red-rimmed, his hands, calloused and stained with engine grease, were trembling. "Who the hell are you?" he growled, his voice rough. I'm Letitia Callahan, I said, sliding into the booth opposite him. Dominic's mother, the woman your daughter saved. His face flushed with shame and he looked away. And I'm the guy who's going to keep you out of jail, Miles said, sitting beside me. But only if you do exactly what we say. Travis's fear suddenly curdled into anger. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what she's like. She's got me. She's got proof of my other work. She'll send me away, and my kid. Your kid will be an orphan if you follow through with this, I snapped, my patience gone. You will trade a few years for theft for the rest of your life for this. Do you have any idea what you're agreeing to? To bash a man's skull in? To destroy his life? I don't have a choice, he yelled, slamming his fist on the table. The few other patrons in the diner looked over. Yes, you do, Miles said, his voice low and dangerous. Right now, you are a victim of blackmail. You help us, we can frame it that way. We can protect you. You lay a finger on Dominic Callahan, and you are a violent felon, and I will personally make sure you never see your daughter again. Travis stared at Miles, his bravado crumbling. He saw the truth in my nephew's eyes. What do you want me to do? He whispered, his shoulders slumping. You're going to help us, Miles said, leaning in. You're going to help us catch her. I can't, he groaned, his face pale. She's crazy. She's dangerous. She threatened Eliza. She said if I messed this up, she'd make sure Eliza was an orphan. She meant you, he said, looking at me. She'll come after you again, and she'll come after my kid. Not if we get her first, I said, my voice shaking but full of a new, cold resolve. She's underestimated all of us. She underestimated you, she underestimated your daughter, and she underestimated me. That's going to be her mistake. Travis looked at me, then at Miles, and then down at his trembling hands. He was a man cornered, but for the first time he saw a different way out. Okay, he said, his voice barely audible. Okay, I'll help you. Just keep my girl safe. We will, I promised. Now here's what you're going to do. This has to be perfect, Miles said, his fingers flying across a small, complex-looking audio recorder on the diner table. She's paranoid. She'll be looking for a trap. Travis stared at the device like it was a snake. She's gonna know. She's gonna know I'm recording her. She won't, Miles said. This is a professional-grade rig. It's routed through your phone. It'll just sound like a normal call. Now, you're calling her for one reason, and one reason only, to confirm the details. You're nervous. You want to make sure you get paid. You want to be clear on what hard enough means. Got it? Travis nodded, wiping his sweaty palms on his jeans. You're the man for the job, Travis, Miles coached, his voice hardening. You're a tough guy. You're not scared of her. You just want your money. Now make the call. I held my breath. Travis dialed the number Marissa had given him. He put the phone on speaker. My heart hammered. 1 ring, 2 rings. What? Marissa's voice was sharp, impatient. It's me, Travis stammered. Don't use your name, you idiot, she hissed. What is it? It's not time yet. Don't call me unless it's done. I know, Travis said, gaining a bit of false bravado, just like Miles told him. I'm on my way. I want to be clear on the terms. 20 grand is a lot, but this is messy. It's not messy, it's simple, she snapped. You do the job, you get the rest of your money. You fail, and I send the police to your daughter's school to pick her up while they raid your shop. We're clear. Yeah, but the job, Travis pressed. You said hard enough. I don't want to get this wrong. You said not dead. That's a fine line. There was a sigh of exasperation on the other end. Use your head. I need him incapacitated. I need him alive but unable to make his own decisions. He needs to be damaged permanently. So I can take care of him. Do you understand what I'm saying? My blood ran cold. She'd said it. She'd said it all. So, a baseball bat to the head. A few times, Travis said, his voice shaking. Just get it done, Marissa ordered. Park in the alley. He leaves at 11. Make it look like a mugging gone wrong, and then disappear. Call me from a burn phone when it's over." The line went dead. Miles hit the stop button on the recorder. He looked at me, a grim smile on his face. "We got her," he said. "We got her. Conspiracy to commit aggravated assault, blackmail, it's all there." I felt a wave of relief so powerful my knees went weak. We had her. We had the evidence. She couldn't slip away from this. "Now," Miles said, clicking the small memory card out of the device, "we get this to a safe place, and we call your son." "No," I said. Miles froze. "What?" "Aunt Tish, he's the target." "We're not telling him. Not yet. He's not an actor, Miles. If he knows, he'll be a nervous wreck. Marissa is smart. She might be watching him. If he deviates from his routine, if he looks spooked, she'll know something is wrong. She'll bolt. The plan has to go ahead." "What plan?" Travis asked, looking panicked. I'm not actually going to be there." "No," Miles said, his eyes narrowing as a new plan formed. "You're going to be with me, establishing your alibi, but we are going to be there. We're going to catch her in the act of paying you off." We drove back to my house, the tiny memory card feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds in my nephew's hand. It was our silver bullet. "First, I upload this to a secure cloud," Miles said, heading straight for his laptop. "Then I make 3 physical copies, one for me, one for you, one for a safety deposit box." Travis was in his own van, parked down the street, waiting. He was too scared to be left alone. Eliza was with him, asleep in the passenger seat, clutching her bear. Miles plugged the card into a reader. His face, illuminated by the screen, suddenly went slack. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." "What is it?" I said, rushing to his side. "Miles, what's wrong?" He was clicking frantically. "It's not reading. The card. It's corrupted." "What? How? I saw you stop it." "I don't know." He unplugged it, blew on it, plugged it back in. The computer didn't even recognize the device. "It's dead. The file's gone." "But the recorder. Is it still on the recorder?" Miles snatched up the audio device. He hit play. Static. Nothing but loud, hissing static. "How is this possible?" I whispered, the floor dropping out from under me. Miles's face was white. "She's a step ahead. She's not just paranoid, she's professional. She must have had a kill signal, something to wipe the device, a remote pulse. I don't know, it's gone. The recording is gone." We stared at each other in horrified silence. Our ironclad case vanished. Before I could even speak, Miles's phone buzzed. It was a text from Travis. "She knows. A car just pulled up. 2 guys, big guys, they're at my van." "Stay down," Miles yelled into the phone, running to the front window. "Don't get out. Lock your doors." We watched from the darkness of my living room. A black, expensive-looking SUV was parked next to Travis's beat-up van. 2 men in dark suits were talking to him through the driver's window. We couldn't hear what they were saying, but we didn't need to. After a tense minute, they got back in their car and drove off. Miles's phone rang instantly. It was Travis, his voice a terrified squeak. They knew," he stammered. "They knew I made a call. They said Marissa sends her regards. They said she knows I'm unreliable. They said the plan is off. They said if I ever talk about her to anyone, they pointed at Eliza. They said they'd make sure she was an orphan." My stomach turned to ice. "They said, we know you recorded her, and we know it's gone. They remotely wiped my phone, too. Everything's gone. My pictures, my contacts, everything." Travis was sobbing now. "I'm out. Do you hear me? I'm out. I'm taking my kid and we're disappearing. You stay away from me. You stay away from her." The line went dead. Miles slowly lowered his phone. "He's gone. He's terrified and he's going to run. We've lost our witness." I sank into a chair, my hands shaking. The recording was gone. The witness was gone. We were back to square one. No, we were worse than square one. "She knows," I whispered. She knows we're on to her. She knows we tried to trap her, and she knows we failed. She held all the cards. She'd destroyed our evidence. She'd terrified our only witness into silence. And the hearing was tomorrow morning. She was going to walk in there, and she was going to win, and she'd be free to try again. No, I said, standing up. The fear was suddenly replaced by a cold, hard rage. Aunt Tish, what are you doing? She thinks she's won, I said, my voice low. She thinks she's destroyed the proof. She doesn't know that I don't need it. What are you talking about? We have nothing. We have her, I said. She's arrogant. She's confident. She thinks she's invulnerable. I picked up my phone. She's right. I don't have a recording. But she doesn't know for sure what else I have. What are you doing? I'm calling her, I said, my fingers dialing. I'm arranging a meeting, just the two of us. That's insane. She could kill you. Not in public, I said, a desperate high-stakes plan forming in my mind. Not at 8 a.m. in a crowded cafe. She's won, Miles. She's destroyed the evidence. Now I'm going to make her confess anyway. My hands were surprisingly steady as I dialed Marissa's number. It was 10 p.m. I was running on pure, uncut adrenaline. She picked up on the first ring. What? Her voice was no longer impatient. It was triumphant. Cold. Marissa, it's Letitia. A short, cold laugh. You have a lot of nerve calling me. I think we should talk, I said, keeping my voice as even as I could. Before the hearing tomorrow, I want to clear the air about Dominic. There was a long silence. I could hear the wheels turning in her head. She'd just spent the evening destroying my case. She'd just threatened a man and his child into silence. She felt completely, totally in control. A meeting with me was a victory lap. Clear the air? She said, her voice dripping with amusement. It's a little late for that, don't you think? Maybe, I said, but I'm tired of fighting. Maybe there's a deal to be made, one that benefits both of us. This piqued her interest. Greed. It was her driving force. I'm listening. Not on the phone, in person, tomorrow morning. Before court. I don't think so, she said, suspicious again. What are you afraid of? I pushed. You hold all the cards, don't you? Let's meet at Cafe Laurel, on the corner by the courthouse. 8:30 a.m. It's public. Safe. She thought about it. I was a defeated old woman, coming to beg. What harm could it do? It would be entertaining. Fine, she said, her voice full of smug superiority. Cafe Laurel, 8:30. But if you're wasting my time, Letitia, you'll regret it. I'll be there, I said, and hung up. I turned to Miles. He looked like he was going to be sick. Aunt Tish, this is a terrible idea. She's a psychopath. What are you going to do? You have no leverage. You're walking in there with nothing. I'm walking in there with a bluff, I said. A massive, high-stakes, all-or-nothing bluff. What bluff? She knows the recording is gone. Her goons just confirmed it. She knows Travis's recording is gone, I corrected him. She knows she wiped his phone. But she doesn't know about Eliza. Miles stared at me. Eliza? We've got nothing from Eliza. I know, but Marissa doesn't know that. She knows Eliza was the one who warned me. She knows Eliza is the weak link. She's so focused on Travis, the man she hired, she's forgotten about the little girl who heard everything. I opened my phone and started typing a new text message. You're not going to like this, Miles, I said, but I need you to be my failsafe. You're going to be parked across the street, and if I'm not out of that cafe by 9 a.m., you send this. I showed him the message. It was addressed to a Detective Sandra Manning. Who is Sandra Manning? A friend of Frederick's. She's a detective in the Financial Crimes Unit, I said. She has no idea about any of this, but Marissa doesn't know that. The text read, Sandra, it's Letitia Callahan. If you are reading this, I am in danger. I have evidence of conspiracy to commit murder, blackmail, and assault. The perpetrator is Marissa Callahan. The witness is Eliza Bishop, daughter of Travis Bishop. The evidence is in a secure file, location attached. She tried to kill me. Now she's silencing me. Aunt Tish, there is no secure file, Miles said, his voice hoarse. I know, I said, my gaze steady. But Marissa won't. I'm going to show her this text, and I'm going to make her believe that Eliza already gave a videotaped statement to the police, that the recording she wiped was just a copy. She'll call your bluff. Will she? I said. She's arrogant, but she's not stupid. She can't risk it. She can't risk being wrong about a child. She's going to have to make a choice. Cafe Laurel was bustling at 8:30 a.m. Lawyers, court clerks, and jurors grabbed their morning coffee, the air filled with the smell of roasted beans and the loud hiss of the espresso machine. I chose a small table by the front window, where we would be clearly visible from the street, where Miles was watching. I ordered a black coffee I knew I wouldn't drink. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. It was rage. Pure, cold rage. Marissa glided in at 8:35, fashionably late. She wore a sharp navy blue dress, her armor for the courtroom. She spotted me and smiled, a predator's smile. Letitia, she said, sliding into the chair opposite me, you look terrible. Didn't sleep well? I slept fine, I lied. Thank you for meeting me. I'm curious, she said, signaling a waitress. A grande, skinny vanilla latte. What deal could you possibly offer me? I thought we were leaving that to the judge. I know about Travis Bishop, I said, my voice low. Her smile didn't waver, but her eyes hardened. I'm sorry, I don't know that name. I know about the $5,000, and I know about the $15,000 you paid him after your first plan failed. The waitress set down her latte. Marissa ignored it. You're fishing, Letitia, and you've got nothing. I believe your little mechanic friend had some technical difficulties last night. A real shame. Yes, it was, I said, meeting her gaze. It's so difficult when technology fails, isn't it? Good thing I prefer old-fashioned methods. What are you talking about? I know about the plan for Dominic, I said, my voice dropping. The robbery, the head injury, the plan to leave him brain damaged so you could get conservatorship. The color drained from her face. Her composure cracked, just a fraction. You're insane. You can't prove a word of that. Can I said. You were so worried about Travis, so worried about the man you hired. You forgot about the little girl who listened to every word. Her mask of cool indifference shattered. I saw real fear in her eyes. Eliza? She's a very bright child, I said, leaning in, very observant. She gave a full, videotaped statement to my friend, Detective Sandra Manning, 2 days ago. We were just waiting for you to make your next move, and you did. You're lying, she hissed, but her voice was tight. That little rat? She's a child. Her word means nothing. Her word plus her father's corroboration, it means everything. The recording you wiped last night, that was just a copy, a little trap to see what you do. And you walked right into it. Threatening Travis, sending your thugs. That's witness tampering, Marissa. That adds another 10 years. Marissa stared at me, her mind racing, visibly calculating the odds. She was trapped. She didn't know if I was lying, and she couldn't afford to find out. That's not possible, she stammered, her arrogance evaporating, replaced by a desperate, cornered animal panic. It's done, Marissa. You don't understand, she suddenly snapped, her voice rising, drawing glances from the tables around us. You have no idea what I've been through. She leaned forward, her face a mask of rage. I gave him 3 years. 3 years of my life. I smiled at his stupid friends. I pretended to like his boring mother. I played the perfect wife. And for what? For him to wake up one day and decide he's not happy? Her voice was a low, venomous hiss. I wasn't just going to be erased. I wasn't going to walk away with nothing. I earned that money. I deserved that life. "So you decided to kill me and destroy him," I said, my voice flat. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," she cried, tears of pure frustration welling in her eyes. "Your car. It was supposed to be a simple, tragic accident. You'd be gone. Dominic would be grieving. He would have turned to me. I would have comforted him. And in his grief, he would have been generous, but I didn't die." "No!" She slammed her hand on the table, rattling the cups. "You didn't. And Travis, that idiot, he lost his nerve. I had to change the plan. I had to adapt by leaving my son a vegetable. He would have been taken care of," she insisted, her delusion complete. "I would have managed his affairs. I would have made sure he had the best care. It was the only way to get what was mine." She had said it. She had confessed to everything, right here, in the middle of a crowded cafe. I looked down at my phone, which I had placed on the table. The audio recorder app was running. "Thank you, Marissa," I said. "That's all I needed." Her eyes darted to the phone. The realization hit her like a physical blow. You recorded that." "I did, and this one," I said, holding up the phone, "isn't connected to any network. No remote wipes this time." Marissa's face was a mottled canvas of white-hot rage and icy terror. "You bitch," she whispered. I'll destroy you. I'll say you faked it. I'll say you coerced me." "You can try," I said, my voice calm. "But it's your voice. It's your confession, and it's more than enough for Detective Manning." I pulled up the blank text message I had shown Miles, the one addressed to Sandra. "This," I said, "is my insurance. It's pre-written. It has my nephew's location, and it has this new recording attached. The moment you walk out that door, I press send." "What? What do you want?" she whispered, her fight gone, replaced by the hollow sound of defeat. "You're going to do two things," I said, my voice hard as steel. "First, you are going to take out your phone. You are going to call your goons, or Travis, or whoever else you have on your payroll. You are going to call off everything. You're going to tell them it's over. That Dominic is not to be touched." She stared at me, her eyes full of hate. "Now," I commanded. Her hands were shaking so violently she could barely unlock her phone. She made the call. "It's off. All of it. The Thursday night plan. It's done. Forget it ever happened. Forget my name. We're finished." She hung up, her breathing shallow. "There, it's done." "Second," I continued, "we are going to walk into that courthouse. You are going to go to your shark of a lawyer, and you are going to tell him you are accepting the minimum settlement. Not what you're asking for, not even what Dominic originally offered. You are going to accept basic moving expenses and 6 months of temporary support. You are going to take your pittance, and you are going to disappear from our lives." "No," she recoiled. I can't. I'll be ruined." "It's either that," I said, my thumb hovering over the send button, "or you'll be in a cell by lunchtime. Attempted murder, conspiracy, blackmail, witness tampering. You'll be in prison for the next 20 years. And that, Marissa, is a ruin you can't come back from." She looked at my phone. She looked at my face. She saw no mercy, no bluff. "You win," she whispered, the words tasting like poison in her mouth. "It's not a game," I said, standing up. "Now let's go finalize your divorce." I walked out of the cafe, Marissa trailing behind me like a ghost. I didn't look back. Miles's car pulled away from the curb across the street, following us at a distance. Marissa was silent on the elevator ride up to the courtroom. She was trembling, her perfect makeup now smudged where she'd wiped away her angry tears. The mask was gone. All that was left was a hollow, terrified woman. When we entered the courtroom, Dominic and Penelope looked up, surprised to see us together. Marissa walked stiffly, like a marionette, over to her lawyer, Raymond Shaw. She leaned in and whispered in his ear. His head snapped up. He stared at her, his eyes wide with disbelief. What, Marissa? That's insane. We're destroying them. She whispered something else, her voice urgent and low. Shaw's expression changed. He looked from her to me and back to her. The confusion was replaced by a sudden dawning comprehension. He was a shark, and he could smell blood in the water, his own clients. He realized in that instant that his case had just imploded. He visibly deflated, his expensive suit suddenly looking too big for him. He nodded once, curtly. "All rise," the bailiff called. As Judge Monroe took her seat, Raymond Shaw immediately stood. "Your Honor, before we begin, my client would like to propose a revised settlement." Judge Monroe raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Shaw, we are here for a final ruling, not more proposals." "My client is aware of that, Your Honor, but circumstances have changed. Mrs. Callahan she is now willing to accept a much more reasonable arrangement." He outlined the new terms, the bare minimum. The courtroom was silent. Dominic leaned over to Penelope. "What is going on? Why would she do that?" Penelope just shook her head, a small, baffled smile on her face. "I have no idea, but don't question it." Marissa stared straight ahead, her face a blank mask of stone. Judge Monroe looked over the new terms, her expression one of utter bewilderment. She looked at Marissa, then at Dominic. "Mr. Callahan," she said, "I assume you find these new terms acceptable?" Dominic, looking like he'd just been handed a winning lottery ticket, stood up. "Yes, Your Honor, very acceptable." "And Mrs. Callahan, you are agreeing to this of your own free will?" Marissa's voice was a dead, flat whisper. "Yes, Your Honor." "Very well." Judge Monroe banged her gavel. "The new settlement is approved. The divorce is finalized. This court is adjourned." It was over. Just like that. Dominic let out a breath that seemed to deflate his entire body. He sagged in his chair, relief washing over his face. He'd been preparing for another day of battle, and instead, he'd been handed an unconditional surrender. As we gathered our things, Marissa stood. She turned, not to her lawyer, but to Dominic. "Dante," she said, her voice trembling, I'm sorry. For everything." Dominic looked at her, his expression not of anger, but of a deep, profound sadness. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Marissa. I really do." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. For a second, she looked almost human, a broken, pathetic thing. Then she looked at me. Her eyes were not sad, they were not apologetic. They were filled with a bottomless, burning hatred. It was a promise. This isn't over. I met her gaze, unflinching, and in my eyes, she saw my own promise. "Try me." She turned and walked out of the courtroom. Her lawyer, Shaw, rushed after her, his briefcase flapping. I never saw her again. "Mom," Dominic said, hugging me tightly, "I can't believe it. It's over." "It's over, honey," I said, patting his back, my hand still shaking. "Let's go get some lunch." 2 weeks later, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Eliza standing on my porch. She was wearing a new, clean dress that actually fit her, and her hair was brushed, tied back in a neat ponytail. She was still clutching her one-eyed teddy bear. Beside her stood Travis Bishop. He was transformed. He was clean-shaven, his hair cut short. He wore a new blue work shirt with a patch over the heart that read, "Marty's Auto Works." "Mrs. Callahan," he said, his voice rough but steady. He was holding his cap in his hands, twisting it nervously. "Travis, Eliza, please come in." "We can't stay," Travis said. I'm on my lunch break. Marty's a tough boss, but we wanted to thank you." He looked down at his new steel-toed boots. You didn't have to do what you did. After I ran, you could have let me go." "You were scared, Travis," I said, "and you were protecting your daughter, but you did the right thing in the end." After the hearing, I had called Marty. I told him the whole story. I told him Travis was a good mechanic who'd made bad choices, but that he had a good heart. I told him he'd refused to hurt me. Marty, God bless him, had hired him on the spot. Everyone deserves a second chance, he'd grumbled, but I'm watching him. Eliza has something for you, Travis said, nudging his daughter. Eliza stepped forward shyly. She handed me a drawing. It was a picture of me in my garden, surrounded by bright, colorful flowers. Underneath, in a child's wobbly script, it said, "Thank you for saving my dad." I felt my eyes sting. "Oh, Eliza, this is beautiful." "Daddy says we're going to be okay now," she said, her voice proud. "He says we're legit, and he says you're our guardian angel." I knelt, ignoring my aching knees, and pulled her into a hug. "You're the angel, sweetheart. You're the one who started all of this. You're the bravest girl I've ever met." She hugged me back, her small arms tight around my neck. Travis cleared his throat. We should go. Thank you, Letitia, for everything." "You take care of her, Travis," I said, standing. "With my life," he said, his voice thick with emotion. He put his hand on Eliza's shoulder, and they walked back to his newly legal truck. I watched them go, the drawing clutched in my hand. I had saved my son, but I'd saved them too. I was in my garden that evening, weeding my roses, when my phone rang. It was Miles. "Aunt Tish, it's done." "What's done, honey?" "She's gone. Marissa. I had a tail on her, just in case. She's been liquidating everything she could. She bought a one-way first-class ticket to Portland. From there, my source says she caught a flight to Zurich. She's gone." A wave of final, profound relief washed over me. That's good. She's not our problem anymore." "Yeah, well, about that," Miles's voice was grim. I kept digging. I couldn't let it go. I wanted to know where she came from, why she was like this. And she was married before, 10 years ago, to a man in Texas, a wealthy oil guy much older than her. I didn't know that," I said. "Nobody did. She scrubbed it pretty clean, but her husband, he died 6 months after they were married, right after she'd taken out a massive multi-million-dollar life insurance policy on him." My blood chilled. How did he die?" "Suspicious car accident," Miles said, his voice flat. "Brake failure on a downhill slope. The car went off a cliff and burned. The investigation was inconclusive. The insurance company fought the payout for years. They suspected foul play, but they could never prove it. She eventually settled for a fraction of it." I sank down onto the garden bench. "My God, she's done this before," I whispered. That's why she was so good at it. The Mary alias, the professional sabotage. She's a black widow." "Looks like it," Miles said. "She was trying again, only this time you were in the way. And when that failed, she defaulted to what she knew. Destroy the husband, get the money. But this time she failed. This time," Miles said, "she ran into you. And Eliza, I don't think she'll be coming back, Aunt Tish. You didn't just stop a divorce, you stopped a serial predator." I hung up the phone, my hands shaking. I looked at Eliza's drawing. That little girl hadn't just saved my life. She'd saved Dominic's, and she'd broken a pattern of evil that had started a decade ago. That evening, Dominic came over for dinner. He'd been canceling his Thursday poker game ever since the divorce, saying he'd rather spend the time with me. He had no idea how that simple choice made my heart ache with relief. He walked in, whistling, carrying a bottle of wine. He looked light. 10 years younger. The exhaustion was gone, replaced by a genuine smile I hadn't seen in years. "Mom," he said, hugging me, "you have no idea how good it feels. To just breathe, to not walk on eggshells, to feel like myself again." "I'm so happy for you, honey," I said, taking the wine. "You deserve to be happy." We ate dinner on the patio, talking about his plans for the future. He wanted to expand his business. He wanted to travel. He wanted to fix the old deck. Simple, normal things. You know, he said, swirling his wine, I still don't get it. Why she just gave up. After all that fighting, it's not like her, at all. I took a sip of my own wine, choosing my words carefully. I think she finally understood she wasn't going to win. I think she knew she'd shown her true colors, and there was nothing left to fight for. Some people, when they're cornered, they just run. Yeah, maybe, he said, shrugging. Whatever the reason, I'm just glad she's gone. I feel like I've woken up from a 3-year nightmare. He raised his glass. To you, Mom, for always being in my corner, for putting up with her. I'm sorry I ever brought her into our lives. I clinked his glass, my eyes stinging. You have nothing to be sorry for, Dominic. You have a good heart. You trusted the wrong person. Thanks to you, I'm free, he said. I smiled, my heart full. He had no idea. He had no idea how close he'd come to losing everything. His life, his mind, his future. He didn't know about the loosened brakes or the $20,000 or the baseball bat waiting in a dark alley, and he would never know. Some secrets, I realized, weren't burdens. They were shields. I had taken the blow for him. I had fought the monster in the dark so he could live in the light, and watching him laugh, finally, truly, happily, I knew I would keep that secret for the rest of my life. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.